So we are drafting today a basic wrap front blouse. The length of my blouse is 19 inches. So I measure 19 inches from my shoulder line down and I square the line across. This is a 1-inch border from the top of the paper. This line is half of a bust span width and I line it across. Now we are going to measure our neck width across. The neck width across that I'm using is 4 inches wide by 3 inches down in depth. And then we are going to square that and form a box. That box is just for the shaping of the neck. I'm going to measure half of my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 18, so I'm going to measure half of that, which will be 9 inches. Then I'm going to find my armhole depth, which will be half of the shoulder measurement. So that is going to be 9 inches down. And I'm going to square a line there. This here is my underbust line. That's the length. On this line, the arm line, we are going to measure our quarter of bust, and since I'm using a stretchy material, I will not leave any ease. So I'm going to put, my bust is 53, quarter of my bust is 13 and a quarter. So I'm going to input 13 and a quarter on this line. I'm going to connect my armhole depth to my armhole in a straight line down. Then I'm going to find half of this, which will be 4.5 for me. From this point, I'm going to come down 1.5 inches down. That is for the shoulder slope. And I'm going to connect the end of the shoulder slope to the high neck in a straight line. By the midpoint of the armhole depth line, I'm going to come in 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to connect from the end of the shoulder to the midpoint line to shape my armhole. Then I'm going to determine on my underbust length, I'm going to measure my half of my bust span width. For me it is 6, because I'll be using a dart in the front of the blouse. My bust point length is 13. So I'm going to measure 13 inches down and square a line across. From my bust point line, I'm going to measure like 1 inch down. And I'm going to place a point there. At the end of my dart leg, I'm going to measure 1/2 inch on both sides. And then I will connect my darts to the 1 inch that I took from the bust point. On my underbust line, I'm going to measure quarter of my underbust round measurement. That my underbust round measurement is 43, so quarter of that is 10 3/4. I'm measuring the 10 3/4 from the center front line. This is the center front line. This is where you'll be cutting your fabric. I will now connect from the underarm point to the underbust point in a straight line. Next, I'm going to determine the depth and the style of my neckline. So I can either have a round neckline or I could have a straight neckline. So I opt to use the straight neckline. The length of my neckline is 11 inch, so I'll be measuring from the inner neck, slant my tape to get my desired length, which is 11 inches. And I'm going to connect from the neck to the 11 inches straight out to the end of my underbust line. So this is where I will be cutting. And that is the front of my basic wrap blouse. You know, just put in our grain line. And this is blouse front. We're just going to label our pattern. And this you'll cut in 2 pieces of this. So now we're going to add our stitch allowance on our pattern, which will be 1/2 inch stitch allowance on the shoulder line. So you're going to add that 1/2 inch there, connecting a straight line. To the front, I will be folding back. So I'll fold back like about 1 inch, 1.5. So I will go with 1 inch as a fold back. I would not be adding any facing. So this will give a clean finish on your fabric. Since I'll be joining this top to a peplum flare to make a longer top, I'm going to add 1/2 inch allowance at the bottom of the underbust line. I would not be adding any stitch allowance on the side because the fabric I'm using is very stretchy, so it will work. On the armhole, I'll add 1/2 inch allowance. This is for the attachment of a sleeve. And there's where you will cut your pattern. Extend your dart legs. And this is the front of your basic wrap blouse.